Okay, boys and girls, welcome back to another video. This perhaps might be my shortest video on record. What I want to talk today about is stripes versus no stripes. What do I mean by that? Well, often, and I used to do this myself, when I'm detailing the inside of a car, I want to overthink it. So what I like to do is what's called, well, what me and my employees used to label as clean lines. So after we shampoo a floor mat perfectly to desired results, we put in some type of pattern into the floor mat that shows to the customer that we, in fact, were very intentional in cleaning your floor mat. And I get it. It's a way for guys to embellish and kind of raise their status as far as professionalism. I used to have that same opinion. No longer do I embrace that. What I embrace now is a very clean, uniform appearance with everything in the car. Whether I'm shampooing leather, door panels, regardless of the color, I don't like a lot of shine. I certainly don't want any greasy, oily stuff on the materials. And when it comes to the carpeting and the upholstery, I want a simple, clean, uniform appearance. So I will pick a direction in which to brush the mat. Now, carpeting is made to, and I'm trying to figure out how to describe this exactly, because certain carpeting, as in all carpeting as a rule, that have some kind of nap to it, as in fibrous materials that stick up, seem to want to lay naturally in a certain direction. You never know what that's going to be until you're getting it. So you may actually come from side to side and do this, and it will cast a different appearance versus this. That's where you have to experiment based on the desired results that you decide are acceptable and wanted in that moment. For me in this car, because it's not my first rodeo, I prefer going this direction, and I had to verify, if you caught that little moment, that it is upward, because it creates a lighter, uniform appearance. So something I noticed that I never hear guys talk about is this. Once you set a pattern into the carpeting that's wet, because this is damp. I just shot a video, I shampooed this, so this carpeting is actually damp. And I'm going to actually make it even damper than it already is. Now it's clean, but I've just reintroduced more liquid or cleaning solution to the equation. So what I could do is I can form different patterns. It seems to be the go-to pattern because it's easier. It's something like this. And there's many ways to create this. You can pull out different brushes. You can get very, very creative. You can go with thin stripes, wide stripes. Really, it's just truly based on you and your world. I'm just not a fan of that. Now I interpret that as kind of a beginner, rookie detailer. And this is not me trying to offend a guy that actually does this, because once again, I used to do this back in the late 80s, early 90s. But it was my way because of my insecurities, was overcompensating so I could say, like, customer, take note. I am that serious about my work that I put patterns in your carpeting so that you can instantly interpret, like, wow, that looks amazing. There's even carpet lines. For example, when you go on the inside of a house, because it's almost impossible, meaning I know how to do it, it's almost impossible to get these big expanses of carpet in your house to lay in one direction. So they'll put carpet lines, patterns into the carpeting. Some people like it, some people don't. I'm not a huge fan, especially not in cars. We have more control in cars, okay? So you can go with that pattern. What I started doing was what I called a scallop kind of pattern, where I'd start out here, for example, and do this. It was a little more decorative. I don't know if that's showing up or not, but there's endless patterns. What I want to address is this. When you set that pattern on wet fibers and then it dries, guess what happens? It literally like sets it almost indelible. I can't even say that word. Permanently. Let's go with permanent. You'll find that if you come in after the fact, or because in my world I've come in and detailed cars that, let's say, the car wash grunts did, and they like to put in those lines because it kind of disguises dirt at a level, because it distracts from the eyes, because you see these lines and patterns. So I have to fix that because I don't want that. I find it very difficult to remove that because it has almost been like set in place, like set in stone, that pattern. So if your customer doesn't happen to like that pattern, but now it's been allowed to dry, well, guess what? Chances are they're probably not going to tell you about it, for one. Secondly, they may just be annoyed at a trivial level. And if they're annoyed by something else and something else that you've done that you're not aware of, you start adding those up, and then guess what? They don't call you back. Now, if this was a moment in isolation and that was your only moment that they just didn't like precisely, probably not going to be a big deal. Just know that if you have to correct it, you're going to have to use excessive amounts of liquid and really finesse that carpet and really be stern with it and force it into submission with the use of brushes and more liquids. So that's something that I've never really heard addressed on any YouTube videos. Not that I consume all my time watching endless videos, because I just don't have time. Why? Because I'm doing this thing called living life and making a living. Okay, until next time, we'll see you on the next video. Make sure you always check the links below, and we'll go from there.